welcome back to my channel. Today is April 18th, 2020. It is currently day 34 of our self-quarantine here in California. And it is currently day 8 of the Quarantine Diaries. And the reason we are starting here today is because I want to share something really special to me and something that has really drastically changed my life. As you can tell, or I don't know if you can tell, but my bed is not made. If you follow me on Instagram, you would know that I like to post pictures of my bed when it's made. I try to make my bed every single day, and the reason why is because it really sets the tone for the rest of my day. I also want to point out that I am in fact wearing the same clothes I was wearing last night, so I'm still in my PJs. Today's video, I want to tell you guys that being in quarantine has really shifted my perspective, not just about the current situation, but just my whole life in general. And so I'm gonna make my bed while I tell you guys a little more in detail why this is so important to me and how something so small can make the biggest difference in your day. So one of the reasons I like to make my bed early in the morning is because every time I come into my bedroom, my bed is nicely made, and it just brings me so much peace. And typically when I do this in the morning, the sun's up and I'm like, wow, it's a new start, I'm grateful, and it just allows me to have just a little bit of peacefulness in my day. Okay, so now that my bed is made, I just want to quickly re-emphasize the reason why I strongly believe that this quarantine is changing the world, is changing the way that we think. It begins with just the simplicity of doing really small things, things that you typically wouldn't think that would make a huge difference. But for me, I've noticed that when I make my bed, if I'm having a hard day or I'm feeling anxious, when I come into my room and my bed is made, there's just something about it looks so peaceful, and it's not just it's so much more than just a well-made bed. It starts off your day right. Like I was saying earlier, I feel accomplished after I make my bed, which brings me to today. So today I didn't make my bed, I didn't change out of my PJs, and I was like, oh my gosh, I sit down here and I do this with you guys, and I always feel so peaceful when I do it. And I thought about showering and then doing the video where I typically do it, but I was like, then that would not be what is actually happening. So the reason I'm doing this is because a lot of the times we have this misconception about it's either perfect or not at all. So for me, I've made this mistake in the past, and I used to think that in order for me to make a big change in the world or in my life, I needed to have all these things perfectly done and perfectly aligned, and that is not the case. One of the reasons I love Saint Mother Teresa is because her way of living was so simple, yet it was so impactful and changed the world in so many different ways and in so many different places. During my time in quarantine, I really learned that aside from having to be so present and having to live in very unknown circumstances, I've learned the value and the strength of doing small everyday simple things, like making your bed or changing out of your PJs. But I think that when you think about the things that you want to change in your life, if you think of them as everything that they are, it becomes overwhelming, and it's almost discouraging to change anything. And then your thought process looks something for example, I want to lose weight. Then you start thinking about, I have to go on a diet, I have to work out this amount of times, I have to give this up, and then it becomes more about the process of it, that you miss the simplicity of just doing very small things at the time. And then eventually you get to the point where you get better at doing these small things that can make a really big difference. So I always like to say that you should always choose progress over perfection. And the reason I say this is because any small progress is still progress, as opposed to oh, I didn't get this done this way, so dang, I'm never gonna achieve my goals. And that's not the case. For today's video, I encourage you guys to simply try your best to do small things, small goals that will make a big difference, especially during your time in quarantine, because like I said at the beginning, this is day 34 for us, and oh boy, some days are very hard, other days are better. I encourage you to try your best to work with what you have and still work towards those goals, as opposed to seeing this as a big setback. And of course, it's a lot of change, and I'm aware of that. Still try to ask yourself, like, how can I be changing my life? How can I be better? How can I be better than yesterday? Or like, what small changes can I do today that will make a difference tomorrow? So that is it for today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I want you to know that I love you and I am proud of you. If you stayed until the end of this video, let me know in the comments what kind of changes you want to make and what type of changes you're making in life in order for you to make that happen. Okay, I love you. Bye. Have an amazing day.